Welcome to the Astrology of June 2026. I'm Mercury and welcome to the Cosmic Sky Podcast. This month in June, we have a lot of things going on. We have a new moon happening in Gemini on the 14th, which is a lot about communication. It's about really looking at being in the energy of being curious, asking questions, doing all this. The Sun entering Cancer puts a focus on home and family and emotional foundations. And Jupiter in Leo at the very end of the month, on the 30th, the very last day of the month, is going to really make us live very big and loud within ourselves and be very high up in the charts with all that we have to give to the world. I'm Mercury, and in this video, I'll be giving you a free video on the astrology of June 2026. This is only part 1. Tomorrow I'm going to do part 2 for the 12 signs we need to know for all 12 signs. I'm going to be discussing the astrology of June in more depth in this episode, and then tomorrow's episode will give you your 12 sign reading. I was planning to do Sun trine Pluto, but the video got me thinking to do this. A channel that I follow suddenly had a membership, and if you go to my YouTube channel, I have a video called Why I Disapprove of Channel Membership. So I had that there, and I put that video out because I just feel so passionate about videos on YouTube being free as much as possible. Well, completely free. And I disapprove of channel memberships, and somebody that I follow had, her monthly horoscope for June as a members only video, and I thought, well, I'm going to, it's kind of like making chicken marsala at home, making dishes that are better than the restaurant. I'm going to give you horoscopes of your 12 signs tomorrow that is better than basically what could be provided there, which is using the whole sign house system or the house system. I'm going to really try to not intentionally beat or compete against this individuals, but I want to give you free horoscopes for the entire month of June that are insightful, that are valuable. Because I want to feel that sense of self-worth about myself. And, I'm just going to tell you, I'm a Taurus North Node. I say that in a lot of my videos. You're going to hear that a lot more. And, I'm just going to throw it in there because I can. When that North Node crosses over Scorpio, guess what's going to happen? Guess what I'm going to do? Focus on self-worth. So, anyway, enough about that. Let us delve into the astrology of June. I'm going to be starting to do this every month with the astrology of each month. So let's start with kind of an underlying theme of the month, and that is Saturn conjunct Neptune. Saturn in Aries, Neptune in Aries. Saturn in Aries is about really having a lot of long-term structures for what we're trying to create. Saturn in Aries wants to put the table in the kitchen and wants to set it up in a way where it's sovereign and it's self-sustaining. Saturn is a planet that represents structure. Wherever it goes, it wants to create that structure, wants to create that stability and that discipline for us in our own individual lives. And so when Saturn is in the sign of Aries, it is really all about creating something solid that is authentic to who we are as individuals. It's not anything that anyone else wants from us, not any societal expectations of what everybody else wants. It is something that we want to carve out for ourselves. It's something that we want to bring to the table that is, very much in our identity, in our individuality. So Saturn in Aries is really about understanding the importance of delayed gratification, and it's about really having the discipline to put lessons on Aries energy and to be in that energy. Now, I have a video that's not on this podcast, but another YouTube channel. On my YouTube channel where I did that video. I don't think that I'm going to be doing that video again. I said that all the information. I don't want to do that. I put a lot into that video, and I want to respect what I did before this podcast. So, that video is on my channel, but it's on YouTube. It's in social media to do that. But so, anyway, Saturn is in Aries right now. And Neptune's in Aries, which could be very much about, at the lowest expression is unconscious aggression and unconscious war, but at the highest expression, it is us being individuals and saying, well, let us revolutionize all the spiritual patterns that don't work for us anymore. Let us change and transform all of these things about our identity to make it something more equitable, more empathetic, more compassionate for the whole world as a whole. Neptune in Aries says, I am the mighty warrior, and I'm going to go with a bang. I'm going to go out and carve out the desk and create a chair and carve out my life for myself. And I am going to show that I can get this show on the road and be authentic. Now, with this, what happens is that all those, with the Saturn conjunct Neptune, which was exact February 20th, all those dreams that, that existed out in the sort of stratosphere, what we have created for ourselves, going on spiritually, with all those sovereign, individual, authentic goals that we wanted to create for ourselves. All those things we want to carve out in our own lives. We want to be our own independent, sovereign selves with saying, you know what? I don't want to dream about this anymore. Saturn Aries is like, stop dreaming about it, stop, thinking about it, stop reflecting on it, and be about it. Make it happen. Aries is a sign of making it happen and making our dreams reality, making all those visions and ideas that we have reality, initiating what we want to initiate and putting it into action. Aries is a sign of action. The action-oriented fire sign. It's the first fire sign. And so it's the first fire sign. We really, really are looking at what Saturn brings to the table. What Saturn brings to the table with this is it says to Neptune, hey, let us make all these dreams reality. That's what it wants, is reality. Saturn's all about reality. Saturn's all about the structures and stability, the 3D reality. So with Saturn conjunct Neptune, we want this to be in our rucksack for life. We want to initiate all those things that bring us into wholeness and peace and abundance and in reality. That's the first thing. Now, something similar to this is Jupiter, the planet of expansion, abundance, and growth, trining Neptune. This is, out of sign. I think it'll be exact in July, but it is sort of an energy that I want to discuss where, and this is not Vedic astrology, this is tropical Western, so the energy that we may be dealing with more next month in July is about growth and expansion. Jupiter is that planet that just puts the fun in the air, just puts the light and the beauty and it's the joy factor, it's the fun factor. It wants to bring about the most amount of joy and enthusiasm and life force energy to the table, and it wants all the fun in the world to come to its house. It wants to be the fun, life-going party goer, and its philosophy of life is have fun and live big, and don't take life so seriously. Jupiter trine Neptune says, you know what? When these two get together in a really, really harmonious trine, they say, anything is possible. Anything and everything is possible. Create that new job. create that new house, write that new book, start that new podcast, start that new YouTube channel, go out and take a walk, go out to travel to your local store, go out and create a tree that can really, really thrive for a long period of time, and do all those things. And you know what? Anything is possible. Anything is possible. And that is the message of this time. That is really what we are working towards now, is Jupiter trine Neptune. Anything is possible. Looking at, bounty with, with compassion. That's what it is. That's what it is, really. So, what it is it is really, what it comes down to, Jupiter trine Neptune has a lot of compassion. It is expansive. It is abundant. It is filled with life force energy. And so, when we can overflow, because you think of a cup, when our cup is completely full and overflowing, stuff comes out of that cup, and we want to fill it up, and we want to make it go far and wide into the stratosphere, into the atmosphere. This is what we want to do. This is what we want to do. And so this creates a sort of dynamic that is very, very bountiful. Again, bounty is the name of the game here. So Jupiter trine Neptune represents the bounty that comes with what we do when we are so compassionate. Jupiter is so expansive, it's so generous, it wants to give. Neptune is just so empathetic. So with this, we can show more compassion to those in our lives, show more compassion to those in our world. And the Sun entering Cancer on June 21st is a time where the focus is on home. We're focused on, Cancer is a sign of home. First and foremost, it's a sign of our home life, our home environment. We are nurturing that environment out really, really well with what we have to give. That's the key, is what do we have to give but also receive? Because water is receptivity. Water is, when we're in the energy of water, we are receiving that element of our own personal lives. So, the Sun entering Cancer is a time where home is really important. Now, home can be defined in a couple of different ways. It's your physical home, first of all. It's your house, the roof over your head, something that gives you a very stable foundation, something that gives you, nurturing and comfort. But it can also be the home inside yourself, the home inside your own body and your own skin. That's what it can also be, because Cancer is home. Your body is your home. Cancer is about comfort, nurturing that home, feeling very safe. Cancer wants to feel safe and comfortable and secure. That's what it's concerned about. And do you feel this way inside of yourself? Do you feel this way inside yourself? Do you feel safe and secure and at home inside yourself? That's the $1 million question. And that's something you need to contemplate on this time. Nurturing your home environment, nurturing your bodily environment, nurturing your, love environment, and nurturing that place inside of you that needs love, that needs care. And the final thing with this is trusting your gut. Because Cancer is related to, one thing I read about Cancer that's so interesting that you need to know about, is its survival. Okay, it deals a lot with survival and, survival of the fittest. Well, not really. Cancer is all about trusting your intuition, trusting that gut part of you that just knows what to do at the right time. It knows what to do at the right time because it trusts intuition, it trusts its gut, and because we don't survive, we can't survive on logic. Okay, we survive through our intuition, we survive on our gut, our instincts, and so that's also the focus: is can we lean into, get out of the logical mind, and can we focus on what's right in here, what's, our gut or whatever, intuition. So, next thing, Chiron changing signs on the 19th. I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to do videos on this around this time because this is so interesting. Now, I was seeing a fear-mongering TikTok about this and how the lady said, oh, well, it might bring about difficulty with resources and food, and things might be harder to come by, and things in the economy might be more difficult to come by. But Chiron and Taurus is really about maintaining value. Asking yourself, what do we value? What resources do we value? That's a good question. What do we value in terms of physical resources? What are those resources that really, really value? But more spiritually, what Chiron and Taurus is. Chiron is the wounded healer. And Chiron doesn't want us to just heal and get rid of our wounds entirely. And, and do all that. Okay, it doesn't want to do all that. It wants to heal those wounds and make something for itself that is very, very, very stable. Because Taurus is about stability, after all. So Taurus is stability. And so can we heal all these wounds around our own sense of self-worth about ourselves? Self-worth. Feeling good inside ourselves. Feeling like we can validate ourselves and give ourselves permission. And with self-worth, you don't need to earn anything. So I think that we're going to really, really excavate and evaluate this belief that, oh, you have to earn things to we have to earn things to be able to feel happy, to feel secure, to be loved in the world. Well, that's not true. Okay, we're going to be looking at that and all that data beliefs when it comes to Taurus with Chiron and Taurus. And we're also going to look at self-worth when it comes to love and respect for ourselves in those kind of special, grounding, earthy kind of ways. So that is the focus on that when it comes to that. So we're focusing on self-worth, and we're focused on security. Okay, we're focused on our own sense of security about ourselves. What brings us true security? What truly nourishes us on a mind, body, spirit level? What truly brings us that inner sense of security about ourselves? That we feel stable. We feel grounded. And insight about Taurus is very, very patient. You know why it's patient? Because it feels secure within itself. Taurus feels secure within itself. It just does. That's why it's so patient. And Taurus is about feeling secure inside yourself. And to be truly authentic is to be secure inside yourself. So certain political figures right now are not authentic. They're the exact opposite of what it means to be authentic. So it is really, really about healing wounds around these kind of topic areas. Now, Mercury is going to go retrograde in Cancer on the 29th, or around the end of the month, rather. I'm going to be discussing that, a time of deep emotional metacognition is what I'll call that video. I plan on calling it that, because metacognition is thinking about thinking about how your mind processes things, and this is basically what Mercury in Cancer is, emotional metacognition. So I'm going to discuss that on those videos toward the end of the month. So, Mercury retrograde in Cancer is highly introverted. It's very, very introverted. Mercury in Cancer, really, really introverted, deeply emotionally reflective, and we are looking at, with Mercury retrograde in Cancer, how our own emotions, how our own feelings and thought processes, how our own emotions and feelings affecting our thoughts, affecting our thought processes. So, how is it affecting us? How is it affecting our thinking? And the focus is on how our home environment, our immediate environment affects our unconscious. Because if we want to know something about Mercury, it is the unconscious. When Mercury goes retrograde, we are taking a deep dive into our unconscious. We're looking at what is in the shadow, what we're not acknowledging yet. Like, if something's in a shadow, we can't speak to it because it's so unconscious that it's not, lifted out, side of us. That way we can really talk about it and acknowledge it. So, Mercury retrograde in Cancer is about our unconscious. Very, 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 very important. Emotional unconscious. So dealing with what emotions are stirring within our side of us. And before the volcano erupts, before all those pieces cook and the volcano erupts, we have to really look at it with absolute scrutiny, because that's Mercury retrograde. It is very, very analytical. So it's a time to nurture our emotions on internal levels. That's what it is. Okay, it is nurturing our emotions, nurturing all that we have to give, all of our feelings, all of our mind, body, spirit connections, all of those emotions that we have going on inside of us, how we're taking care of those. And so that's going to be the focus of that time. Now, the downside of Mercury in Cancer is moodiness, absolute moodiness. Because if we're not careful, we could be very, 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 very moody. Reacting as opposed to responding, taking everything so personally. Mercury in Cancer takes the whole world so personally. Easily hurt. Mercury in Cancer is very, very discriminating about the information that it does share, because there's this fear of, the information being used against you with Mercury in Cancer. So it's very, very discerning about that. One's privacy, and it wants safety and security, and it wants that kind of thing. And we could take things so personally at that time. With Mercury retrograde, we take things more personally, we're more reactive, we're more frustrated during Mercury retrograde, because it gets into our unconscious, or unconsciously we have all these emotions, and we look at that stuff when Mercury goes retrograde. So, responding rather than reacting, as I said before, it's going to be very, very important. Instead of just having an immediate reaction to what somebody says, an insult or whatever, how are we going to respond to this thing? How are we going to actually respond to what we are doing, to what we find in our immediate environment? How are we going to respond to that? Instead of just react immediately. Think about Capricorn. I will say, from my mom, who is a Capricorn stellium, one of the lessons of Capricorn is being able to feel your emotions, yes, but also respond, as opposed to just react and be in the frustration emotions and be in the moodiness of the emotions, but to have a controlled more mature, more grounded, more pragmatic response to your emotions. And I think that that is a great attribute about Capricorn energy, and a great lesson that, Cancer can learn from Capricorn is how we can respond. Capricorn says respond to the issue, to the thing. Okay, it is about responding to that particular thing that kind of annoys us, kind of bothers us, but it is responding to it in a very, very, grounded way. So that's the focus there. So then Jupiter and Leo, at the end of the month, which I'm going to talk about here. I'm going to do separate videos on that, so tune in for that. But so Jupiter and Leo is about confidence. Leo is a really, really, really confident sign. It's going to be here until July 26th of 2027, and then my Jupiter return in Virgo. Looking forward to that. Jupiter 2027, 2028. That's my Jupiter return. But anyway, Jupiter and Leo is about confidence. Really, can you be confident in yourself? What does it mean to be confident in yourself? It is to be sure in your abilities. It is to be sure in what you are doing out into the world and what you are putting out, basically. And living big. Jupiter and Leo, the art of living big. I have a video about it in the natal chart. The art of living big. That's what it really, 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 really comes down to. Is living very big and loud and large. So can we blow up our enthusiasm? Can we make it the biggest, most expensive thing? And here's the downside of Leo. Wow, we can have big egos. If we're not careful, we could overindulge in ego and need all this external validation to feel good about ourselves. When that's the low word of Leo, like constantly being self-conscious and needing everybody's approval. No, we validate ourselves. We validate our own self. We have a good sense of self-worth, self-love, giving ourselves that sense of validation. That sense of validation about ourselves. That's the real key here, is to validate ourselves and say, I am perfectly worthy to shine my authentic light and share my creative gifts and be a big, loud force of generosity to the whole wide world. That's what it can come down to. That's what it can come down to. So Jupiter and Leo asks you, what creative dream do you have? What is that creative dream that you want to nurture in and outside of yourself? That dream is really, 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 really huge. What is that dream that you've just started with doing? And you're like, I want to nurture this. I want to build the foundation of this really, really strongly within and without me. So, what is that? What are those creative dreams you have very, very strongly within you? And it's about Leo is about leadership. Leo can be very, very heroic, very, very leadership oriented. Leo wants to take center stage and be the star of life and be the leader of its own life. Leo says very, very loudly, you get to carve out the reality that you want for yourself in this life with spirit, with your intuition, with what feels right. You co-create your reality with your internal higher self, with your intuition. In other words, you create your own reality. That's what Leo says. And it is about empowering yourself to be the star of your life. And Venus in Leo, June 13th, coming into Leo, is about passion. Venus and Leo wants passion in terms of love. It is all about passion and play and romance and all these really fun things that happen with love and, matters of the heart. When, the question with Venus and Leo is, can we love passionately from our hearts? Leo rules the heart. So Venus and Leo is really bright and radiant and bold and heart-centered. And so this energy says, live big, live generously, be genuine in your giving of heart and love and energy. So, and really living out a really big life, because Venus and Leo has a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of zestful life. So can we make the most out of life during this time? The new moon in Gemini happening, well, on June 14th, the day after, asks you to carve out your own narrative. Take a journal, take a book, take a pencil, and write out, journal about the new story that you want to live in your life, because Gemini says you get to create your own story. You don't have to be, like, Gemini does not want to be told what to do, and told what to think, and told what to believe. It wants to be curious, and think, and learn for itself. So, what story do you want to write out for yourself in your life? What do you want to live out in terms of that story for yourself in your own life and narrative? What narrative for your life do you want to carve out? That's the question. That narrative is of the utmost importance. That is huge. Very huge. So, what is the narrative that you want to create for your own life? In, whatever way you do, whatever way you say it, or however way you play the violin, what is that narrative? What is that narrative? Write that narrative. And then Mars in Gemini on the 28th of the month is about being very powerful, being very decisive when it comes to your words. Mars in Gemini is about the mind, and I have Mars in Gemini natal, so I'm going to be feeling really activated during this time because this is my Mars return. But so Mars in Gemini on the 28th, starting on the 28th, it's going to be for, 40, 30 plus days, is about, can we assert ourselves with our words? It's more than just using words to fight, because everybody uses words to fight. It's very simplistic. No. Can we be very intellectual about it? Can we have the gift of the gab? Can we think of all these ways of phrasing it that are very smart, very clever, very witty, and very intelligent? And can we be adaptable and on our feet? Like, Mars in Gemini is very adaptable to what it does and what it creates out in the world for itself. That is huge for Mars in Gemini, is that adaptability piece. So it is really about not being so aggressive in communication. But this is the downside. We can be very aggressive, very, very, arrogant with our words, this and that. So we do want to be mindful of where we are being aggressive with our words and choosing to dial it back and assert ourselves in that kind of a sense of the word. And then the full moon in Capricorn on June 29th is really about maturing the subject matter. We're again meant to have our responses to things be more grounded, be more logical, and can we feel our emotions, but then can we respond and not react? It's not about, the downside of Capricorn is pushing down and shoving down, repressing your emotions. No. Capricorn says you're responsible for your own emotions. So be responsible in the way that you express those emotions. So, feel the emotions. Instead of reacting, feel them, respond. When you process it, when you, take a breath, respond. I challenge you, and I challenge myself to do this. Reacting with logic. It's really, really, the key here. Responding with logic, not reacting. And giving ourselves the self-respect we deserve. It's really, 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 really key. It's giving ourselves that self-respect. It's really, really huge within us when it comes to that self-respect piece. Self-respect. Carving out a life for ourselves. Creating discipline, creating structure, creating, climbing up the mountain. Capricorn is about self-respect. Standing up for yourself, being the backbone of yourself, having backbone. Capricorn has been having backbone. And it is about being responsible for your own life and being empowered to co-create that life and manifest that reality with those long-term goals, with the climbing up the mountain, with the doing all this. Where we are balancing home and family with work, with career. So, and then where have we been ready? Where have we been too needy or emotionally dependent on what we are doing, really? On what we are really experiencing out to the world. Because Cancer is at the low level very needy and moody, and wants to just be the mother and nurture everybody else instead of take care of itself and fill up its own cup. Like Cancer is asked, this time you want to turn all that nurturing energy you put in others and turn towards yourself. And be emotionally independent and not, to be dependent on yourself for nurturing, for love. You don't need anyone else to, validate you or take care of it. You can nurture yourself. You can take care of yourself. And so Capricorn demands a self-sufficiency. I have Saturn in Cancer, and I'm going to be embracing sort of the tough lesson, making it a not so tough lesson, which is about self-sufficiency and taking care of yourself and taking care of your own vessel, being responsible for your own emotions. That I am perfectly worthy to feel and express and do all this, but I don't have to be dependent on others just to take care of me emotionally. I can recognize it within myself and do all that. That doesn't mean I can't, go to others if I want to talk about feelings or do whatever, but, still, it's both and here. So, where do we need to be more emotionally independent with this energy? Being independent with our emotions. Meaning, relying on ourselves, expressing those emotions fully, with not being emotionally dependent on others, but feeling, again, empowered within ourselves, and being more self-sufficient, taking care of our own lives, being in the earthly practical realm, building it up all by ourselves, taking care of us in the practical 3D dimensional realm. And so, I really, really like the empowering qualities of Capricorn with being self-sufficient, with being independent, with being, very, very goal-set. Capricorn is a really, really, very, very important sign. Very, the word is important that comes to mind here. Very significant sign. And this full moon is going to be having us look at all those shadows of all of these things with Cancer. And can we change the narrative? Can we change the story with this? That's the real question. So that is your astrology overview for June. Yeah, if I were to do all 12 signs, oh my gosh, we'll be here forever. So I'm not going to burden myself with that. I'm going to do it tomorrow. I'm going to, do it slowly and steadily because, again, coming back to what I said at the beginning of this video, I'm a Taurus North Node. I meant to take all the time in the world, and I do have all the time in the world, and my mantra is I'm not going to get to it now, but I'll get there eventually. I will get there eventually, and so I'm learning not to always rush and be so intense into everything that I do. So tune in for that episode tomorrow, or I may do it today. Who knows? I'll myself with the videos today, but I don't like to produce the video. Then I have to produce another video. No. So tune in for your 12 sign readings for the month of June tomorrow. I won't go through every little thing that happens in June, but I'll go through a couple little things per sign, significant things. I can't go through everything because there's so much. It would be a 5-hour video if I did, but I can pick out a few things. Like I'm an astrologer. When I become an astrologer, I will not be looking at every little aspect and getting into the jargon of this square this, opposite that, in conjunct this, and da like a lot of them do. I will focus on a few aspects, and then I will go in depth about them because I find that way more interesting than this going on here. Like, less is more. I'm telling you, less is more. And if I become an astrologer, I do not want to fall into the trap of using jargon. I don't believe that I use astrology jargon in my videos. I don't intend to not use jargon. I just happen to not do that in my videos. So I hope that you found this meaningful and found value out of this. And if you did, click the subscribe button and tune in tomorrow for your June astrological insights for your sun, moon, and rising sign. Coming up tomorrow on the Cosmic Sky podcast. And then, the rest of this week really is catch-up week for, just any videos that I want to do on this podcast that I did previously. Other astrology general videos, Mars and Capricorn, Venus and Capricorn, Moon and Leo. I want to do all those episodes. On this podcast later this week. I it's a marathon, not a sprint. I'm not rushing into every little video and every little idea that I do. No, I don't want to burn myself out. So I'm giving myself the grace to do this little by little. And so thank you for tuning in. I will see you in the next episode of the Cosmic Sky Podcast. Until then, be well. Bye for now.